Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here today. We're taking a quick look here at Storj, and if you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. I highly recommend you always do your own research, but if you prefer not to, and maybe you like to go a little bit more on autopilot, I have a trading community signal group. Check that out, link in the description below, where I actually send out signals for every single trade that I take, and it's a really awesome experience, right? We got a really good group of folks there. Check that out in your own time. Now moving forward here, we're looking at Bitcoin. All right, so quick little heads up on Bitcoin. We got a slight correction here today, of course. Went from about 62.5 down to about 60,000. For potential bounce, 60,000 has been working as a pretty strong support level. So I feel like we should be able to see a continuation back to the upside here soon, or if nothing else, at least some consolidation around support, and then possibly a break to the upside. But bottom line here, we got 58 to 60,000 as a strong support level. Resistance channel, 65 to 66, and we're closer to about 60 right now. And all things looking fairly good for Bitcoin. Just pay attention to how the price responds to this support level here. Moving on to Storj. Oh boy, good old Storj. I remember covering this back in April and May, and look at how big it is. Oh man, it really took off. This is awesome news. Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and take a look here. So let's go ahead and mark obviously some key resistance zones. We're gonna go ahead and mark the one-day close. Okay, we'll also mark the high, because that's essentially the resistance channel. Wherever the one-day candlestick closes and the actual wick, essentially how high that went, that's essentially the resistance channel. So it's a pretty big channel, all things considered, because of that huge spike previously in March, but at this point, we're looking pretty good. Now, really quick here, just to clarify, we have both moving averages kind of, I guess, pretty much coinciding with each other. They're fairly straightforward just based on the way that the price action had occurred. So therefore, that really had nothing to do with it, because oftentimes you can get like a golden cross, sometimes it'll get the price to shoot up. That really didn't do much here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 4 hours, see what's going on. Pretty much the same thing here as well. Yes, that did come and swing up here, but really it's just a matter of the fact that there's probably some strong fundamentals. Coins like these have been taking off lately, so just pay close attention to coins of this nature. They really have a tendency of taking off. And if we look at the RSI too, well over 70. So again, pretty standard stuff here. Common rule of thumb though is when the RSI is up over 70, you trim your position. But I highly recommend you watch my RSI video because there's still some nuances there. Typically, you probably want to wait until the price comes back down in order to take your profits. Now, this is a different story altogether based on how high it got and how quick it went. You got to kind of react quickly. So here's the bottom line, right? Just to kind of rewind and preface. If you are new to trading, always set profit targets, right? Set 3 profit targets and a stop loss that's hopefully a trailing stop loss. You can utilize that through trading bots. We use Cornix in our community, but you also have 3 commas is a very fantastic alternative there. But generally speaking, you set a trailing stop loss and also 3 profit targets. And just say you had done that, you would have taken probably profits in all 3 of them and been in and out of the trade in no time without even touching a thing, right? So you set it all up ahead of time. That's the key to being a good trader, is to really just have done that in the first place. But if you're here right now, I totally understand. You want to know if you want to hold on or not. Well, I would say hold, yeah, for sure, because based on Storj's history, it has a tendency of ramping up quite quickly, and it does so for a few days in a row, right? So it'll ramp up, consolidate, and then it ramps up again. Okay, so if this is any indication of what might happen here soon, I think there's a good chance we may see a second spike here in the near future to try to test its all-time high. Now we can look at Fibonacci and kind of see roughly where we're at for support and resistance levels and kind of go from there. But generally speaking, that's roughly what we're looking at here for the moment. In fact, why don't we just go ahead and pull it up while we're at it? Let's go ahead and see what's going on. So we've got, wow, yeah, there's a lot of movement here. You know what, let's take a look at that on the shorter time frame. Let's kind of see what's going on first of all with the 1 hour chart. Yeah, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 3 candlesticks, and we got almost 80% increase. That's pretty significant. Definitely like to see that, but that's also too high, too fast, in my opinion. And oftentimes when that happens, excuse me, you get a nice solid correction. Now it has already corrected itself, right? So it may consider staying right here. And if that is the case, we'll figure it out. Why don't we actually pull up the Fibonacci really quick, kind of just see roughly what's going on here right now. We do have a support level somewhere in the range of about 40, what is it? Sorry, is that, yeah, $2.04. So 204 is basically the support level here, the major one that we can kind of rely on. That's right around half. In other words, anytime you have a significant increase like this, the realistic probability of it coming down halfway is very high, just based on the natural law of how things correct. But what we do is we draw a couple other support levels as well to make sure we understand roughly where it could be here in the near future. So we'll just go ahead and draw one resistance and two supports there, so we can see here. Because to me personally, usually halfway point is the corrections point, right? So we should expect 204, 205 range to be the where the price ends up relaxing and calming down to. Now, is there a chance it could continue to upwards? Yes, but I think it's less likely. Just again, based on the information we have in front of us, right? So we look at this here, for example. We're on TD sequential, we're at a 7. Okay. Now that's not bad, but that's near the end of its ramp up, so to speak. So at best case scenario, we might see 2 more hours of bullish momentum, which could likely get stopped out here at about 260. But there's a strong chance that it'll probably retrace, I think, kind of hang out between 204 and about 225, or where it's at presently, from 225 to 258. So kind of a bit of a range, I know, but it's just kind of the way that it works, right? That we had such a large increase that statistically speaking, there's a great chance we're going to see the price come down. I mean, in what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, roughly 5 hours, we've got 120% increase in price. Granted, this is not there right now, but that's basically where it's at, okay? So just be careful when it comes to this one here, because I don't think it's done retracing yet, but also keep in mind too, if you just say you took a position already or you have one from before, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to hold, because I think the likelihood of it continuing to try to break its all-time high or its one-day close high at least is a very high probability. I think that's a very likelihood. So just keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and take a quick look here. Yeah, kind of null and void really look at the, because I like to look at the Ichimoku cloud sometimes, but here's kind of what the benefit is here. Because bottom line, when the price is above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal, right? So we obviously had a buy signal prior here, somewhere, I think sometime yesterday around 8 o'clock. But regardless of that fact, we're up here right now. And oftentimes what happens is the price will come down and it'll bounce off of the actual Ichimoku cloud, which works as a support level. So I like to see that that is right there in the range here of the Fibonacci retracement lines, because that gives us a secondary support level just in case. Yeah. Very last thing we want to take a look at here is see if we're back within the standard deviation lines. So let's take a quick look at that here. So price is well above VWAP and EMA. Of course, we see that. And there we go. Yeah, standard deviation line. So we're in pretty good shape here. In other words, this correction is actually very healthy because it came up, it got rejected essentially here with the standard deviation, and then of course this one as well. So what had happened is if you look at the price compared to the volume, it was about 30, almost 40% higher than the actual volume weighted average price at the time. That is too high of a variance. It has to come back down and retrace, and it pretty much corrected itself, but it ramped up a second time. Okay, and this all happened within about an hour's time frame. So what I'm getting at here is that I like the fact that the price is kind of calming down, relaxing, coming close to that volume weighted average price, and the fact that the VWAP is right here at about 226 gives us that secondary support level too. It's usually very good about holding, but on the same accord, I don't believe it well, just based on the history of how things do retrace. I think it's more likely we're going to see 204. So bottom line, don't overreact. Don't get that knee-jerk reaction where like, okay, I'm going to sell right away. Okay, it's okay if it comes down a little further, because I feel confident it's going to continue to increase based on its history and how well it can perform in such a short amount of time. Just be sure that when if you're in a position right now, you set a few profit targets, right? You set a nice stop loss that is, I would say, below this support level of 204, just in case. And then obviously make sure that you pay attention to what's happening, because coins like this have a tendency of moving quite quickly, and you don't want to be left out in the rain, right? So that is kind of my thoughts there. So big picture, let's go back to the prediction here, because everyone likes to understand that, and I get that. So let's go ahead and pull up Fibonacci again, and this is an extreme best case scenario for the immediate short term. But if you can see here, we've got these two support and resistance channels, or basically it's a resistance channel for now. If the price were to continue to progress the way that it's doing right now, in just say the next 2 to 4 weeks, and I say 2 to 4 weeks because we need to have some kind of correction like it's doing right now in order for it to leg up again. And because if you look back here in the past, you can see that it did very well, but it had to correct itself 2 or 3 days in a row. So we see this nice increase, and then a dip. Another increase again, and a dip. And why it took off here or didn't take off is just because it had to consolidate and essentially retrace. And then of course we had April 17th and then the May 19th. So a lot of unfortunalities there for Storj, but it did very, very well if you look at how it's performed during some of those terrible times, right? So all in all, Storj is definitely in good shape here. Best case scenario, I would say, is $5.41 in the next 2 to 4 weeks. And I like to give that range just based on the fact that Novembers are typically very green months. So Bitcoin should continue to do well. It'll bounce back here soon. It'll take off probably in the very near future. And once it starts trending back towards 100,000, we're going to start seeing a lot more, I guess a lot more coins getting pumped just like these ones here, right? So the large to mid cap coins are going to start taking off because all that extra money that's in Bitcoin right now is getting sold off and getting put into coins like these right now. So it's an interesting phenomenon the way that the whole market cycle works. Definitely check out the 4-year cycle video that I have so you can kind of understand a little bit better. But that's the general concept. So regardless, $5.41 is my prediction here for the next, I would say, 2 to 4 weeks. But the immediate short term, I think we're going to see a consolidation over the next 2 or 3 days. My hope is to see that, right? And then we see that leg up to test its all-time high, close, and then its all-time high, period, right? So that's kind of where we're at. So again, best case scenario within the next week, I would say we're going to see closer to $4, somewhere in the range of $3.70 being broken. But more importantly, right around $5.40 by end of November. That's the hope. And it definitely has potential for it, okay? So stay tuned. Hopefully, we'll go ahead and reevaluate this here soon, see kind of what's going on. But thank you so much for joining me here. You get a chance to check out my Patreon community. Really appreciate your support, and we'll look forward to seeing the next video. Have a great one. Thank you.